All right, so today I'm here with John Kilmer. John, how are you doing today?
I'm good, brother. How's it going?
Good. Doing us.
Of course. Where are you located?
I am in Michigan, kind of like the Detroit, Ann Arbor area.
Sick. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So for those of you who might not know John, he is what kind of like movie, TV, film, music producer. Worked with who have you worked with? You've worked with like Kendrick, Mike, obviously Mike Stud, Huey Mack. I guess just tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I guess in the production world, my interests kind of lie on film and music. I guess I've always kind of been a sucker for both. Um, I went to school for film. I'm from Boston originally. I went to school in New York. Directly after graduating college with a film degree, I moved to New York City in Manhattan. I started a music and video production business out of my 10 by 10 apartment, my apartment bedroom. So I had my bed on one side of the room and I had my computer desk and speakers on the other side.
It's crazy.
And I spent probably 4 or 5 years just building and freelancing my own business. At the time, I called it John Kilmer Studios. I didn't know
Yeah.
what else. Didn't know what else to call it. A lot of people knew me for my like big bright pink circle logo that I put at the beginning
Right.
of all my videos. And yeah, I kind of just got my start just producing music for a lot of kids, engineering music for a lot of kids, and shooting music videos. And like a lot of those things, one thing leads to another, and
Right.
now I'm working in house for Mike Stud, and we all live together out here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I know that you have that music background, and then I know you mentioned film too. Do you do you have like a preference between the two, or are you just kind of trying to do it all?
Honestly, since I was 14 years old, I've been doing both. It's what right
Yeah.
on when I started doing both. I was lucky because my high school had both a music program and a film program, which is pretty unique
Yeah.
for a high school to have both of those things. So I kind of started playing guitar in like bands and
Yeah.
stuff, and I studied that in school for some classes, and then I had a video class that I really fucking loved, and uh, just since that young age, I've wanted to pursue both,
Yeah.
and even through college, like I was majoring in film, but I was also having like I was recording kids in college too.
Right.
One of the first people I've ever worked with is a rapper, Chris Webby
Yeah.
from Connecticut. He and I were in the same fraternity actually,
Oh, no way.
and when he moved into the fraternity house, he knew like I was the other music guy, and I lived in the basement of the house. I had this like music recording setup that I would just use and like
Okay.
mainly just to fuck around for myself. But he was kind of the first guy that I actually like artist I worked with as like an engineer and as a producer. So that started simultaneously while I was getting a degree in film. So when I got out of college, it's like I kind of laid the groundwork on
Right.
both ends, and I'm like, and it's a struggle to be honest with you. It's a
Yeah.
struggle to have two fields that you're trying to pursue because honestly, both are cutthroat.
Right.
They're very hard. You have to really give your all to
Right.
even make like a little bit of progress in either. And I kind of always bounce back and forth on what I want to pursue, but I'm like I'm just really trying to nail both, and it's just because I like it so much.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. And I mean, I'm sure you have some goals that you're trying to shoot down, but I would say from just like the outside looking in, at least, it seems like you've had some pretty good success with everything so far.
Yeah, I mean success is relative.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, it's always looking ahead and like what's next, what can I do that's next, what's the next biggest peak I can climb. So
Right.
if, I always like taking a step back and being like you're doing okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So I mean, with Mike, I know you've kind of done a little of both, honestly. With like this is Mike Stud and touring is boring and everything. Is that kind of like the perfect storm? Like being able to kind of combine it between the film and the music. Is that kind of
Yeah, that's kind of how I fell into the music industry because
yeah,
I was able to contribute a lot to an up and coming musician who didn't
right,
really have those type of contacts for someone to like, oh, I need someone to record my music. I need instrumentals and someone to produce my music. I need music videos. I need someone to shoot my concerts. Like I need content.
Right.
Usually you have to seek, two or three people for that. And I was just kind of a person that could offer all of that as one human being. So, um, so yeah, like, I mean, in that way, like, it made me kind of a unique person, and it made me like a very attractive person to work with,
For sure.
especially if you're starting out. So that's how I was kind of able to get my foot in the door with a lot of artists, back in 2010, 2011.
For sure. And now I know you said you're in-house now, so you guys are in LA, right?
Yeah, we've all lived out here together for, I think, like going on 5 years, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Mm.
But I hear there may be Nashville in the future.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big, like, grass is always greener on the other side situation.
Right.
Like, we all bitch about LA, but obviously there's a chance, we'll move,
For sure.
especially as we get older and Mike's
Yeah.
music starts to change.
Right.
Nashville might make sense. I don't really have like a time frame for that, but it's
You
for
never
whatever
know.
reason. Yeah, you never know. For whatever reason, he wants to live out there, and I like Nashville. It's a fun city.
For sure. Do you like personally, or do you guys ever see yourself going back to the East Coast?
I don't think so. When you look at entertainment, especially in music,
Yeah.
uh, LA is probably the number one place, and then Nashville's obviously big in the country music scene,
Right.
and there's somewhat of a scene in New York. Mike attempted the whole New York City thing; he hated it, so
Okay.
I don't see him ever living there. I personally loved it. Um, to answer your question, as a unit, probably no, we'll never move back to the East Coast.
Okay. For sure. Awesome. Now, I know that you do a lot of work with Mike. Does that like are you doing stuff on the side too, or is it just primarily like your main focus right now?
I always try to like keep my work about 50-50. So
Okay.
I'd say, like, and it obviously fluctuates throughout time depending on what we're doing, because
Right.
sometimes we'll go turns, but generally I like to keep an equal balance, because I love what I'm doing here,
Yeah.
with all of his stuff, but at the same time, like, I'm just like a loose cannon. Like, there's so many things that, I'd say my biggest, probably like my biggest strength and my biggest flaw, kind of all in one, is that it's just the ambitiousness of me wanting to pursue so many different things.
Right.
And with that, it's hard because one of the most important things you can do is focus on one thing, and just really nail it. So
Yeah.
I tried to keep my projects at like a low number now, but
Right.
right now, especially since our podcast started taking off, that's obviously taking a big portion of my time.
For sure.
And we all see the future in our podcast, and we see that there's obviously potential for it to be something really big. So I'm really putting a lot of my time and energy into it, just because I see down the road on how big it can be.
Yeah.
But with that being said, um, I'm I always work with people on the side. There's a new artist I'm actually working with who's based out of Seattle.
Okay.
He's a 18-year-old, like, singer,
Okay.
and I started producing all of his music, which it hasn't come out yet, but it's about to. And that's like just a rare case where, if I meet someone and like I kind of click with them
Yeah.
creatively, and I really like their style of music or whatever, like, it'll kind of encourage me and motivate me to want to produce music for them. And that's
For sure.
probably that's happened, like, I could count on one hand how many times that's happened to me in the
Yeah.
past 8 years.
Right.
So I'd say like maybe 3 or 4 months ago, I got turned on to his music. He only has like 3 or 4 songs out now, but
Okay.
I was turned on to his music, and one of my good friends is managing him. So
Okay.
he's been taking a lot of trips to Los Angeles. He's actually in town now, and we just
Nice.
we've been making a ton of music for him, and he's just like a real true talent. So
That's awesome.
I'd say my other side project, besides working here and working on the podcast, is developing him as an artist and producing his music.
Nice. And you said he's just like a singer, just
Yeah, he's a
like singer
singer.
songwriter, or
Yeah, singer songwriter, like,
okay.
super talented singing voice, just
Nice.
very very talented songwriter. Um, just all in all, very smart. I mean, people are gonna you'll all see in the next couple of months
Yeah,
once it starts coming out. But he's just a true talent, so I'm excited for that
that's
music to come
awesome.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean with music, at least it seems like you kind of are in a lot of different lanes. You have a lot of different music interests and influences. Have you always been that way, or I mean, is it that just how it seems, or
Yeah, my music palette is probably the widest of anyone I know.
yeah,
Um, and it's not even that, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I don't even know how it got to be that way. Um, I guess I was a little more, I'd say in high school, I was a little more like tunnel vision as far as what I listened to.
okay,
Because I like guitar so much, I was
right,
way more into classic rock and the whole like rock star lifestyle and all that
right,
shit. I still love all that. But then I guess once I started getting older, I went to college. I started getting opened up to like rap and hip hop, and I'm like,
right,
oh, like rap's not that bad. Like this is pretty cool too. And then once I started working in the music industry more, I'm like, oh, like pop music's really sick too. And then
right,
before I know it, like I'm at any given day, like I'm listening to the most random collection of music
right,
genres. It's
right,
yeah, it's like, and not to mention like especially in college, like I got open to house music too, which I don't really
yeah,
listen to as much anymore, but um, especially like where I went to school in New York,
yeah.
in like 2008 to 2010, like the house music became like super new and popular and
Oh,
exciting
for sure.
in the United States, anyways. And all those big festivals started popping up,
Yeah,
um, like Ultra Music Festival down in Miami, and like all
right,
that, like that started popping up kind of around that time. So I just I just got immersed with so many different styles of music, and I
for
just
sure.
so I definitely have like a super wide palette, but I say my love definitely lies anything that's guitar based for sure.
Yeah, totally. I think if I remember right, I saw you guys 2014. Was it Stud Summer Tour in at the Crowfoot in Pontiac in Michigan,
Oh
and
boy,
I think you came out with the old guitar for that one.
was I playing guitar at that point?
Were you?
I
I
don't
don't
think I
know.
was. I don't think I
No,
was. I mean, I
no,
don't
no,
know.
you weren't. No, no. Okay, my bad. Misspoke on that one.
No, it's all good.
But
Yeah, I want to say I didn't start that till like 2016 maybe.
okay,
Um,
but
but yeah,
I've
that I mean,
definitely seen the videos, and
yeah,
you got some skill.
and just to yeah, just to elaborate on what you're talking about,
Yeah,
it's for people who don't know. Like starting in 2016, I don't even know whose idea it was, but I would tour with Mike Stud as his videographer. But before he came on stage, I'd come out with just me and my guitar, and I'd play the national anthem,
yeah,
no backing track, nothing, just like a heavy metal like national anthem, and people would sing along, and then as I hit the last note, Mike would come out and do his first song. So that was something we did for probably like 2 or 3 years, and talk about fucking peaking. Like that's
yeah.
like that's like my dream. It's like coming out and like just busting a guitar solo for like
Right,
thousands of people every night. Like
for sure.
that was so much fun. So um, my favorite show was definitely when we did House of Blues in Boston.
Yeah,
That was one of our biggest live headlining shows we ever did. It's like
right.
2,500 people, and I remember like shooting out there, and I wanted to look like an idiot, so I was wearing an American flag onesie,
Yeah, yep,
and
I've seen that.
and man, like what a rush playing guitar and doing a solo for that many people. Like
Right.
that was so sick.
And that was pretty much like a home concert for all you guys, right?
Yeah, because they're Mike and Blue, like they're from, and DJ Fader, they're from Rhode Island, like probably an
Right.
hour away from Boston. I'm from right outside Boston, so that's for sure a hometown show for us.
That's awesome. Are you guys going to continue that for any future tours?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's just about him finishing his album.
Yeah.
It's pretty far along.
Yeah.
Um, he's I got. I mean, he busts his ass on all his albums, but this
Right.
one, I can tell like he's putting a lot of time and effort,
Oh, for sure.
and just like huge attention to detail, making sure everything's perfect, making sure uh, all the right songs are on there. But he's working hard, and I obviously can't give away too much, and I actually
Right.
I don't know too much. There really isn't a release date set for the album. There's no date set for tour, but it is all kind of in the near future, and
Right.
um, his sound is really evolving
Yeah.
in a really awesome way. So I'm really excited for people to hear it.
Yeah, no, I'm excited too. I've been listening to Mike since Toast Tommy, and I still have that album on my phone. So like, I'll get in the car and like some random song from the album will come on, and then like it'll go right to one of the lyrics, and I'm like, the sound, just the elevation is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I got to give him credit for someone like him with a sports background. He didn't
Yeah,
have any. Mike didn't have any music background, and he
right,
went from no music background to essentially, making an entire album on his own.
right,
He had some people help him with the mixing and stuff, but for the most part, like he was recording himself, and he was getting his own instrumentals, and he was putting these tracks together himself, uh, which is really impressive.
for sure.
Especially back then. I mean, I know music recording technology has kind of improved in the past 8 or 9 years, but
Right,
back then, like it wasn't that common to have like a home studio like it is now. That was kind of like one of like the like first years. Like I'd say like right around 2008 or nine was like kind of when people could afford to make a simple home studio setup. So
right.
like that was kind of like a whole new thing on its own too. And with that being said, yeah, I'm super impressed that he was able to put an album like that together on his own.
For sure. Yeah, and when did you guys link up?
We start. I linked with Mike probably around early 2011. We were just talking about this, probably early 2011, and he only had College Humor and In This Life
Right.
out, I believe.
Okay.
And I was like browsing through music blogs one day in my apartment, and like because that's how you discover music back then. There wasn't
Right.
any streaming services or Spotify or any of that shit. So I'm on like goodmusicallday.com, which is like a big blog at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember just like breezing through one of, I think it was the College Humor video, and I was like,
Okay.
oh, I'm like, this is pretty cool. Like this dude kind of like looks like he parties and shit, and like, like there's like bitches in the video, and like everyone's having a good time. Like the song's cool. I'm like, that's pretty sick. So, like I remember having like a whiteboard next to my computer,
Okay.
and I would write down names of like people who I wanted to work with.
Okay.
And I had this list of like 4 or 5 people. And then after I saw College Humor, I'm like, I think I want to work with this Mike Stud
Gotcha.
guy. So I wrote his name on the list. I sent him an email. I think the original email was like me sending like beats or something like that.
Okay.
And then he ended up using one of the beats, and that was like one of his early songs. And
Nice.
then I told him, I shot music videos. So he came to New York. We shot a video for the song,
Yeah.
and then yeah, there's kind of then it kind of goes back to what we were saying before. It's like how I was able to contribute a lot just as one
Right.
single person to what he was doing, as he was, just super new and super brand new. So that's kind of how things started.
For sure. And like, so since then, have you guys always been together, or like, have you guys taken any like breaks to do your own stuff, or have you just always been rocking since then?
I would say, I mean, we weren't living together until we all came out to LA together.
Right.
So I would say, before the LA years, which was like 20, like 2011 to 2015, maybe something like
Okay.
that. Like we were all living in different places, and
Right.
like it was very much like I would go off and do my own thing, and then
Yeah.
like we would have a tour, or we would do this or that.
Right.
Now it's like we're just so like intertwined with each other, and
Yeah.
it's like it's honestly awesome. Like it's very cool to have your business like all under one roof.
Right.
It's almost like this incubator where the wheels are always spinning. So it's good and bad. It's like shit. Like I never leave work because
Right.
we're always working. Like whether it's me starting at 8 in the morning, or like something pops up at midnight. It's like
Yeah.
it could be. It's just the wheels are always spinning over here. But I think that's what you need
Yeah.
for productivity and just for being as efficient as possible. So I do enjoy that aspect of it. It's definitely a lot of fun. It doesn't feel like work. It's a
Right.
lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I know that you guys have shown off like the in-house studio and stuff, so I'm sure, it's easy just you guys get some ideas, head up there and just kind of get to work and yeah, I mean
Yeah,
it just seems like fun at that point.
I got to give Mike even more credit because he taught himself how to use Pro Tools, which is like the music recording software, which
Okay.
is very difficult software to learn. And
Okay.
he taught himself to so he has the ability to just go in there by himself and start, recording music on his own, which is you know talk about efficiency. Like when you're when you're like in
Yeah.
the mood to do something, you can just go in, into the studio by yourself and cut whatever you need to do. So
Right.
that's definitely helped a lot too, for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. So I want to kind of switch gears a bit and go more like into the film. So I know that
Yeah,
your big thing that you've been working on, the Primrose.
yeah, man,
So
Primrose.
yeah, talk a little about that.
Yeah, so I'd say like in the fall of 2017, um, I like maybe even before that, maybe even like early 2017, which is wild that it's like two. I can't believe it's that long ago.
Yeah.
I just like I think I just woke up one day and I'm like I want to be a filmmaker. Like, I want to I want to write and direct films. I'm just gonna fucking do it. Like it.
Right.
I don't care if I don't have a lot of money to make it. I don't care like if I'm not ready yet. I can make a million excuses, but I'm not going to. I'm just gonna write a movie and then I'm gonna raise money and then I'm gonna make it. So it's just to show like how hard of an obstacle that is. Like that thought in my
Yeah.
head was like the beginning of 2017, and I didn't really like finish it until shit. I don't even know, like the beginning of this year. So like it was like a 2 year process,
Right.
which yeah, I mean it was a long road. So the first step was the writing a script, and like I went to school for film, and like I took a lot of screenwriting classes, and like I basically knew um, like the rules and how to like physically write a script and how to structure it and all that.
Hmm.
Um, so I probably went through like two or three different story ideas before like I finally came to one, and I'm like, all right, like this, the words are flowing, like this is what I want to make my movie about. So I
Right.
spent like 3 months, 3 or 4 months working on that script until I thought it was like ready, and then
Okay.
in 2000 2018, I believe, in like April or March, I started like crowdfunding on Kickstarter
Right.
for my movie. My goal was to raise like $10,000 to $20,000, which as far as movie budgets go, it's like peanuts. It's like
Right.
that's absolutely nothing. So I ended up raising about like $30,000 in about 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
Probably in about April, May. Probably in about like 2 months, I raised about 30 grand, which I was super happy with in like a
Yeah.
short amount of time. Um, Really, I mean, it was draining, but like I hate asking people for money, but like just really cool, like creating a community based around the movie, which
For
was
sure.
really neat, like getting a lot of people involved. Um, and then in 2018 and the end of May into mid June, we shot the movie in Boston. Uh,
Right.
13 days, super low budget. Um, Obviously, like a lot of things went our way and a lot of things didn't go our way, but just like any project,
Right.
probably the most stressed I've been, in a 2 week period.
Yeah.
I barely was sleeping every night. We were, generally on film shoots, like on, big production film shoots, you'll shoot
Hmm.
5 days a week and have the weekends off, but we shot 13 days, all the way through. A lot of the people working on the film, it was their first feature film ever, actors and crew.
Okay.
So I flew like a lot of the actors were willing to work for free because they really liked the story and everything. So I was
Okay.
basically just like flying people in from around the country and like putting them up room and board. Uh,
Yeah.
and honestly, it was like summer camp for 2 weeks. Like everyone had a fucking blast together. Like
Yeah.
a lot of us lived under the same roof. Um, and yeah, man, like we just had a ton of fun. And
That's
um,
awesome.
I'd say like due to the circumstances and our limitations, like I couldn't be more proud of how it came out. Um, and since it's been done, we've done a lot of screenings around the country.
Yeah.
We've submitted it to film festivals. Generally with a film of like a budget of that size,
Yeah.
It's, you're not looking to get into Sundance or,
Right.
getting it on Netflix like that. Obviously that'd be nice, but for me this this was just like a learning experience, and it was just to kind of like, it's like going to the moon for the first time. You can't really
Yeah.
call yourself an astronaut until like you actually do something as an astronaut.
Right.
So it's like, you can hang down in like the NASA labs for like 10 years and like do all these training and all this bullshit and say you're an astronaut, but until you actually go out in space, you're not an astronaut. So like
Right.
that's the way filmmaking is. Like until you actually like do the work and make your first film, like then you're a filmmaker, then you're
Right.
a feature filmmaker. So that's kind of like the purpose of all this, was to just kind of, you know, make a film, put in the work,
Yeah.
go around the country, do all these screenings, meet all these people, shake hands, and be like, "I'm John Kilmer. I'm a filmmaker." So now it's
Yeah.
like I've done that. I'm super psyched, and like I'm just looking ahead now and learning from my mistakes of the first film, and looking to make the next one.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. And I know soon after you put it out there, I shot you a message and like you gave me some link to check it out and everything. So I've personally seen it. It's good. I mean, I know like you said it was small budget and it's independent, but quality stuff. So hats off to you for doing it, man. It came out really good.
Oh, I appreciate it. I just like, for anyone that wants to see it, they can contact me on social media, and I like I
Yeah.
did with you. I can send them. I can send you a private link. But that's what I did for, because we technically never released it yet. We probably will soon on like Amazon or something like that.
Okay.
But in the meantime, there was a point in time when, especially when you messaged me, I probably got like close to 1,000 responses of people asking me to
Really?
watch the movie, and I sent them all individual like messages with a private link, and asking them to give me feedback, and that probably was the most rewarding part of all of it, because then I kind of got just like a mass amount of people watching it at the same time, and
Right.
messaging me about it, and that's when it felt like there was like a community based around my dream, which is filmmaking, and that's when it was like a really fun part of it, once like the hard work was over. So that was probably the most rewarding part, and like I'm glad I got to send it out to so many people.
Yeah.
um so yeah, that was great.
That's awesome. And now I know you mentioned like, a lot of the actors and, just everyone that was involved with the project was, the kind of like their first time or newer to to the industry.
Hmm.
Was anyone like friends of yours, or were they just like people that you like connected with, thought would be good for the roles or, for the crew?
Acting wise, I don't think, God, there's so many actors. I don't think
Yeah.
any of the actors were, I would say, were close friends of mine.
Okay.
Some of them were local to Boston, some were from New York, some were from Florida, like one was from Canada, like they're from all over the place. Um, and kind of like the deal I had with them was like, you listen, I can't afford to pay you a ton. I can afford to fly you and put you up for 2 weeks and feed you
Right.
every day, and you'll start a movie. So that was kind of the deal for like a lot of the actors, and that was one of the hardest parts, was like finding actors who are like, A, good enough to play the roles, and B,
Right.
down to do it under those circumstances. So that was a big part of the pre-production, was just reaching out to not just the actors but to the crew as well.
Right.
Finding a crew who's um, has like the work ethic and the talent to do a feature film, but for a low budget and a low pay. So that was tough. I want to give myself a pat on the back, because like I put
Oh, for
together
sure.
such a fucking sick team. Like everyone was just like such good team chemistry and team
Yeah.
camaraderie. Like I can't imagine what it would be like going through that with like people hating each other. So
Yeah.
that was great too.
And I feel like it shows like just with, how everything turned out and, just seeing the final product. I feel like it's like, yeah, of course you're watching, a movie, but it feels just like you're just seeing like a part of someone's life. It's like you're almost there with, everyone, just immersed fully with it.
Yeah, and that's kind of I'd say like the main director, or probably the main two movies or people that inspired me with
Yeah.
that project were probably Richard Linklater, who did Dazed and Confused,
Okay.
um, which is an incredible film. He later did a movie kind of more recently called Everybody Wants Some. and like all of his movies, like they have like they don't really have any conflict or plot per se, but it's just kind of like young people partying and like
Yeah.
a string of scenes in like a certain area in a certain time period.
Right.
And I just kind of like his biggest strength is like just creating cool characters and
Yeah.
putting them in cool situations, and it makes you want to like be friends with them and it makes you want to hang out with
Yeah.
them. So like in that sense, I really love that. And then I'd say my other inspiration was probably the American Pie movies, which
Yeah.
I grew up with, and like it just like they're actually from Michigan. They're
Yeah.
yeah, that all the American Pie movies took place in Michigan, and like when I was growing up with those movies, it's like man, like I feel like I'm a part of their friend group, and like
Right.
I feel like I was growing up with those guys,
For sure.
um, and they're going through a lot of like the similar fucking problems and
Right.
things in high school and in college that I was going through. So
Yeah.
it was relatable, it was fun, it was cool.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, man, like those type of movies definitely influenced me.
That's awesome. And now with like the Primrose, was I mean, I'm sure some of it, but were you basing it off like your experience or experience of people you know, or even like some of the characters on people that you've actually like met or that you're friends with, if you don't mind me asking?
Um, yeah, the characters weren't based on anyone I know. The story
Okay.
itself, and just to give like a kind of like a nutshell of what the movie's about,
Yeah.
if it, like if people want to know, it's about a guy named Steve, obviously, and he's just finished college. He's 22, and he's kind of like most 22-year-olds, like it's a confusing time,
Yeah.
because you're entering the real world, and a lot of times you don't know what the fuck you want to do with your life, and you don't know where your life should be going. So that's kind of like our main character, and he just ended things with his fiance, so he's kind of like very lost.
Yeah.
And he finds out in the opening scene from his older brother that he's a legacy to a secret party society where you get to live in this house for 4 more years off a college campus and just kind of like continue the party.
Right.
So the movie is about our guy Steve moving into this secret party society animal house with 7 other guys. And it's about his like first 4 or 5 days in the house, and just figuring his fucking life out.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's awesome. It was definitely good, and I applaud the name choice of Steve.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, I mean, obviously, beyond like my influences,
Yeah.
I was just a relatable story to me because like
Yeah.
I've always lived in a house full of guys, including right now as far back as like being in the fraternity house in college, and I just like I've always loved that sense of male camaraderie,
Right.
of just like a bunch of dudes living on one roof, and all of like the trials and tribulations that come with it and all the good times that come with it. So
For sure.
that was definitely a big part of the story as well.
Yeah, it was awesome and definitely super relatable and yeah, just high quality. So I definitely would recommend it if someone's interested, hit up John and check that out.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So I know that when it comes to actors or just film, I know you're a big fan of The Rock.
Oh yeah, The
um,
Rock's my guy.
but I mean, other than The Rock, or maybe that's your answer. Do you
Are
have
we
like?
about to get into some rock talk?
I was just gonna say like who's like that person that you'd love to work with someday, and I'm sure The Rock is up there, but
Yeah, no, The
is
Rock is
that
the
your
answer.
answer?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm like I always 100% of the time got Dwayne on the brain. I'll always get down. I'll always get down with some rock talk. He's just like, man, talk about a guy that's just been like, I mean, hero doesn't even sum it up. Just like,
Right.
just like a fucking beloved person. Throughout my entire life, from
Yeah.
the wrestling ring to the movie cameras to just his like personal life now. Like he's
Yeah.
just a tremendous human being. Um, Incredible work ethic, and just and like like I can just tell deep down he's just like a very gracious person,
Right.
and a happy person, and yeah, just like a super hard worker. And I follow him on Instagram, and like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you, like I don't even know what I would do if I got to work with him at any capacity, even if I got to
Yeah.
like bring him his coffee every day. Like I don't even, I try to plan like what I'll do the first time I ever see him. I never even like seen him in the flesh, so like I don't even know what. I don't know if I'd faint. I don't know like what I don't know what would happen. I'd probably just start stuttering. Like I'd develop a stutter. I don't know what I would do.
Okay, well, hey, I mean, I love The Rock too, and I'd love to see a Kilmer and Rock production someday.
Yeah, I don't know if he's doing any like art house low budget movies anytime soon, but if he is,
You're his guy.
he's always got a role in one of my movies.
He could have been Steve. Imagine The Rock as Steve.
Yeah, I probably would have gotten into a few more festivals if that were the case.
And I'm sure it's hard for you to pick, but do you have like a favorite Rock movie or film?
Oh, geez, Louise. I would say, actually, surprisingly, it's not a movie he starred in. It's a movie he was a supporting actor in. But to me, my favorite character he ever played was in the movie Pain and Gain, which
Okay.
is a Michael Bay film
Yeah.
starring Mark Wahlberg. And it's like the first time. It's the first time I want to say it's one of the first time like The Rock plays someone who's like not himself really.
Hmm.
He plays someone who's like a cocaine addicted ex-con, I guess.
Okay.
And he like relapses in the film and starts doing like a bunch of cocaine in it, and I'm like, oh my god, like the Rock's doing cocaine. I'm like, this is, and he's like fucking bitches and shit. I'm like, this is insane. Like this is where I want, this is what I want to see The Rock doing, like. In every other movie he's like a good father, and he's like,
Yeah.
he's like on the other side of the law, like protecting people. Like, no,
Right.
I want to see him like robbing people, doing coke and fucking bitches. Like that was sick. So if no one's if none of you've seen Pain and Gain, then I strongly suggest you watch it because it's super entertaining. Mark Wahlberg's another incredible actor that I love because I'm a Boston guy. So
Right.
having them both in the same film was like ecstasy. It was sick.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Is there anyone like in the music world that you'd love to work with someday, whether that's like working like production wise or even just like shooting some like tours or film for?
Um, Man, that's tough to say. I kind of like I love what I'm doing right now, and
Yeah.
like on the music production side, like those those matches kind of like happen like serendipitously, like it just like that, like it'll come to you, like
Right.
like that's what I used to do when I was like looking for work and stuff, but now it's like um I can't like really go out and just pick someone that I think I'll work well with. Like it just
That's
kind of
true.
has,
Yeah.
the pieces just kind of have to like fall into place naturally. I don't really know how to explain it.
No,
And
no,
then
that makes sense.
as far as filming tours, Motley Crue's going on tour. Like that'd be pretty sick to hop on that tour for a little
Yeah.
while. Always been a huge fan of the Crew. Another one of my favorite bands, which I'm sure you don't know. A lot of people, younger people, don't know, but
Yeah.
it's a band called Steel Panther. Have you heard of
Okay.
them?
I've heard of them. Don't know much, but I've heard of them.
So I honestly feel like it's like one of those bands or anything that like I feel like was created for me. I don't
Okay.
know, like I don't know how, like, so Steel Panther is they're older guys. They've been signed to Republic Records and been making original music for like 10 years, and they're an 80s hair metal uh, parody band, I guess.
Okay.
so like so they're older guys. They do like the whole fucking like dress up like Motley Crue, like with the
Yeah.
big hair, the makeup, the tight leopard pants and shit. And like all their songs are funny. They're about like fucking bitches. They're misogynistic. They're about anything that's offensive. Like they make music about, and they're
Okay.
incredible musicians too. So like you go to like when you go to a show, like they're playing all like this offensive, funny music, and they're playing it like very, very well. Everyone's incredible at their instrument. The singer has an incredible voice, but they're like old dudes, like like they've been rockers forever. And
Yeah.
in between songs, they'll do like kind of like these little like they'll kind of riff with each other a little bit, and like it's almost like a comedy show and a music show, and it's 80s hair metal, so it's like all my favorite shit in one. So I've seen them probably like 5 or 6 times, and like actually just saw them about a month ago, and oh my god, dude,
Nice.
they're so good.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I feel like I'm learning so much about your music tastes.
Oh yeah, like always loved comedy, always
Yeah.
loved the 80s hair metal. So
Doesn't get much better than that.
doesn't get much better than that. Like if you listen to like when we get off the phone, like just check
Yeah.
out their first album. It's called I think it's called Feel the Steel.
Okay.
It came out in like '09. It's like
Okay.
every song is just fantastic.
Okay.
I'd say like Stripper Girl's a good song. Um, there's a song called Fat Girl. That's a really good song. Um, yeah, just browse around through the album. Let me know what you think.
Okay, yeah, I will do that just for you.
Thank you.
Now, like, how do you go from that though to like Jonas Brothers One Direction?
That's what I'm saying, man. Like I get the widest palette in the world. Like I don't know what to
Yeah.
say. Like I want to say like the pop music that I like, it probably came from a young age, from my mother, just like what
Okay.
she played, what the shit she played, like when I was a little kid in the backseat of the car.
Okay.
Like she'd play a whole wide variety of shit, and she liked pop music. She liked like real soulful music. She had a wide palette as well, but like especially she listened to like very like happy upbeat stuff.
Okay.
And so I think just that's just how I grew up. So now when I hear anything that's upbeat and happy, like it could be the Jonas Brothers, it could be One Direction, it could be anything.
Yeah.
It could be a fucking I don't know, like a it could be a rap song. It could be anything.
Right.
I'll listen to it and I'll like it.
Okay. So I mean, can you pick your favorite boy band?
My favorite boy band. Oh
Yeah.
man. Oh fuck me. That's a tough one. I mean, I probably One Direction if I had to say.
Yeah.
I want Man, you put me on the spot here. Yeah, I'd probably have to say One Direction just because I've been around for like the entirety of their whole stint in the music industry. So like I kind of listened to this shit as it came out, and
Yeah.
which I didn't like quite do with the other ones like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. They
Right.
came out. They came out when I was so young. I was like 8 years old. So
Right.
I wasn't exactly like like queuing up at the CD store buying the new album every week. Yeah,
For
my
sure.
mom had to like drive me there, or she had to get it for me. So yeah, I'd probably say One Direction for sure.
Okay. All right. Just a burning question that I mean, I had to know the answer to.
Yeah, I shouted out One Direction in my movie, so that should have answered it for you.
That's true. That's fair. So I don't know if this thought terrifies you or if it excites you, but I'm sure somewhere there's a there's a young upcoming John Kilmer out there trying to
In what way?
try. We'll stick with professional in the
Oh, I
film.
thought you meant I have like bastard children out there or
No,
something.
no, I was not taking that approach. Just that there's probably some kids out there that or younger people that kind of want to break onto the scene like you have, or probably even look
Oh
up to
yeah,
the work that you've accomplished.
yeah. I get a lot of
What?
messages like not
Yeah,
all the time, but I do get messages about up and coming videographers
yeah,
mainly, asking for like advice and stuff like that.
yeah. So like, what would be your best advice?
Honestly, man, it's it's surrounding yourself in the right area, and it's the work ethic, in the sense that like when I started working, if I knew like someone was like really good or talented, or like I really wanted to start working with them, like I wouldn't even money wasn't even like in the conversation. It was just
Okay.
like it's like, hey, let's just work. Like let's just see how we mesh together. Like let's just make some shit. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like, and I think that's the biggest mistake people can make, because like obviously making money sick. It's awesome.
right.
You can go buy yourself like 10 Bud Lights at the bar afterwards, which is always nice. But at the end of the day, like it's about networking. It's about surrounding yourself in the right area.
Yeah,
Um, like I started out in New York City. Like that's a fantastic place to start out.
right.
The downside is that New York City is very expensive.
Yeah,
But I was working out of the same bedroom I sleep in, and I was
right,
sharing an apartment with three other people. And I would wake up every day and I would just sit on my computer. I wouldn't even leave my bedroom. I would just sit on my computer and I would just make music, and I would shoot out emails and contact people. And it really, one thing leads to another type of deal. And it's probably not going to happen if you're in like Fargo, North Dakota. If you're doing that
fair.
in
Yeah.
Fargo, North Dakota, like you're probably only going to get so
Okay.
far. But like I was hanging out with my buddy today who's a producer and an engineer, and he was telling me how he's from West Virginia, and he was saying like when he was starting out, he did the same thing I did, like where he'd have a studio out of his house
Yeah.
and he would just work with like local artists. But it's West Virginia, and at that time it was really only him and ID Labs. And I don't know if you know ID Labs, but they did all of like the early Mac Miller shit, because
Right.
Mac Miller's from Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh and
Right.
West Virginia are like very close together. So
Yeah.
he's like, when I was starting out, like, yeah, I was in West Virginia, but I was the only guy in West Virginia.
Right.
So now it's like, uh, now he lives out. My buddy, he lives out here. He lives right
Yeah.
down, kind of like right down the road from me. He still has a studio out of his house, but now he's working with like Lil Skies, who's like a huge hip hop artist.
Right.
Um, and it happened because Lil Skies is from, I think, from West Virginia or from that area. And
Okay.
when he was starting out, he was working with my buddy because like he was the only studio out there.
Right.
Now he's in LA and he's still working with him, and now Lil Skies is like a huge artist. So like it's
It's
just that
crazy.
it's just kind of how those things work. And like
Yeah.
if you're putting yourself out there and you're like networking with the right people and you're showing
Yeah.
a strong work ethic and you're constantly improving your craft and like you just have a passion for it. That's really all it takes, and then it's just patience. Then because things are gonna start happening.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think you're right. Like, you just got to take advantage of those opportunities and almost create those opportunities for yourself and be patient. I'm sure, you didn't find, all that you've stumbled upon overnight, nor has anyone, I'm sure. So, it takes time. It takes time and just you got to stick with it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like it really was just like letting everyone know, like I'm the guy, like I make music, I produce
Yeah,
music, I shoot videos. Like I want everyone to know that about me.
right.
And like once you let everyone know that about you, then like you start working with one guy who like actually starts to pop off a little bit, and then it's like, okay, now you're not just like a guy who does all that shit. You're a guy who does all that shit, and you're the guy that worked with that guy. So that like it's almost like adds to like your introduction to how people talk about you.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
like, John Kilmer, he's that guy's guy. and then
Right,
and then like a whole new swarm of people come to you who's like, I want to work with him because he worked with him. And then out of
right,
that new swarm, like maybe one of those guys starts popping off. And then it's like, okay, John Kilmer, he worked with this guy and this guy, and then a whole new swarm of people come to you. So it's like it really is just kind of like a flow like that. That's
for
that's
sure.
kind of that's kind of how it happened to me for sure.
Yeah, no, I love it. Awesome, awesome. Well, John, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. Where can people find you, like on the socials?
I'm just at John Kilmer, but if there's no H in my name, so it's just Jon and then Kilmer on both Twitter and Instagram. I just started TikTok too. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing on there, but I feel like I'm a 30-year-old on TikTok. I'm looking at all these 15-year-old girls shaking their pussy, and I feel like really gross and dirty about it. But sometimes I get stuck watching it anyways, and then I look at their profile, and it's like they're in high school, and then I have to like throw my phone in the ocean. So
Well,
maybe
thank you for that insight on that. Yeah.
maybe don't find me on TikTok because I probably won't respond. I don't know what's going on over there. But
All right.
Instagram and Twitter for sure at John Kilmer.
Well, then we'll have the people stick with those two platforms for now, and who knows, maybe TikTok down the road.
Maybe TikTok as I figure it out.
For sure. All right, man. Well, thanks for hopping on and talking about some good stuff, and wishing you the best of luck with everything that you do in the future. And I know that I'll be following up with it and seeing what's going on. And yeah, we're excited to hear about all the good stuff that you'll be doing.
Cool, man. Hey, good talking to you, man.
All right, take care, man.
Have a good night.